All right, sorry, my Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. My connection was a little fuzzy there. All right, so thank you for joining us for our first fall session. We're going to be carrying these, throughout the fall as well as in the beginning of the year, but for now, our fall sessions. And today we're going to be focusing on why to join TSA. Could somebody else share their screen? Or is she? Okay, thank you. I just don't know if my Wi-Fi can handle it tonight. But we're gonna be talking about, how to get your TSA chapter started. If you don't already have one, what are your first steps in creating a chapter? And then if you have one, what are some ways you can get it going and get your members engaged, whether you're a student or an advisor.
All right, can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
All right, so.
All right, so our schedule real quick. So this is going to be just the fall sessions that we have right now. So today we're doing how to get your chapter started. Next Monday, we're going to be doing new events and more. So what's new with TSA. And then on November 1st, which is a Tuesday because Halloween is on a Monday that week, we're going to be doing this is when we start our How to Get the Gold series. And we're basically going to go through and explain different ways and different techniques when you're doing your competitive event and how you can get the best results from them and how you can eventually place first at states or nationals. So our first one is going to focus in on the portfolio and documentation. And then on November 7th, which is a Monday, we're going to be doing How to Get the Gold Part 2. And that's going to focus on your display and model and how to really make that interactive and do the best you can with that. And then on November 14th, that is our final one for the fall. And we're going to be doing How to Get the Gold Part 3. And that's going to focus on your interview. And so we'll have about, I think, 3 more at the beginning of the year to kind of prepare you more with regionals, and then after regionals, how to read your results. But for now, this is what's on the schedule for the fall, and we're really excited about, coaching and advising your competitive events so that you can have the best results in the spring or in the winter with our conferences. So for this session, how to get the gold, or not, how to get the gold, why, and how you should join TSA. So we're going to go over why TSA, who can join, some different student perks if you're a student or an advisor trying to get more members, some different important dates and events that we have throughout the year. And then we'll go over how to start a TSA chapter, how to maintain a TSA chapter that's very similar, and some different resources that we've compiled, as well as different perspectives from each of the state officers.
All right, so starting off, why TSA? That's the big question that everybody wants to know. So I'm just going to go down this list in order. So for one, we are a career and technical student organization. So we provide resources for both middle school and high school students. So in total, we have 73 competition events, and this is split about 35 middle school events, 35 high school events. I'm pretty sure high school has 1 or 2 more. So this is really great because we have such a wide variety that there really truly is something for every single student in your classroom. And then we also, what's really great is that we're intracurricular, meaning that you can take some of the events and you can put them right in the classroom. So your students can learn about your subject while also preparing a great event that they could compete at competitions and possibly win. Another great thing about TSA is that we're not just about competitions. We're also about providing leadership and giving people opportunities. As you know, all of us on the state board, we are just high school students, and we got such great opportunities to lead, and it truly is such great opportunities. And students get opportunities just like we did right in their clubs, the opportunity to lead their chapters, to help younger members. Another great thing is that career awareness and technological literacy that comes with being in TSA, since we provide so many resources, so many events, and so many ways that students can really learn more about their future in technology. We also have many community service opportunities, as the American Cancer Society is our service project for TSA. So students get the opportunity to fundraise and to learn more. And that's often a great opportunity for these young students who maybe don't have that much opportunity to fundraise like how we do in TSA. So there's also a fact sheet for 2021-2022 and a YTSA that we will be putting in chat. And if you go through that, you can see, so the fact sheet is just some really important information. And YTSA provides you with a lot more information as well if you want to explore a little bit more in the stuff that I've been talking about. All right, so next up, we have some very key dates when it comes to TSA. So first, affiliation opened September 5th. So this means that you can now enroll your members and your chapter, and you can get started on events. After that, we have our virtual sessions, which you're in one right now. Congrats, you've already attended the first one. And this is going to be going on through February. So we have a lot of different events, as Abby talked about earlier, and a lot of different things that we're going to be discussing. So after that, we have our virtual regional conference for 2023, and those submissions are going to be February 6th to February 10th. Now, one thing to note about this is not every student is going to be competing in this virtual regional, because we have about half the events that we usually do. And the reason for this is very simple. We want to focus on those events very specifically to make sure that we really nail down on that portfolio, especially those documentation heavy events, just so that students know exactly what to expect, and going into the state conference, they're very prepared. And speaking of the state conference, after that, we have our 44th annual state conference. This will be held March 26th to March 28th in Greensboro at the Corey Convention Center, where it usually is held. So this is a really nice experience. If you talk to any former TSA students, they will tell you that this is one of the best parts of being in TSA, especially in North Carolina. Every student gets the opportunity to go, and it's a really nice bonding experience. You get to compete, and it's often, for a lot of students, their first chance staying on their own. And it's a really great way that they can build some skills of independence and being on their own. And then lastly, for those lucky students who place at our state conference, they can attend the National TSA Conference in Louisville, Kentucky. And this is June 28th to July 2nd. So that is a really exciting opportunity. And honestly, I haven't personally gotten the opportunity to go to a national conference yet because of COVID, but based on everything that I've heard from so many people, it's an absolutely amazing experience. And it's just so amazing because you get to meet people from other states. There's a lot that goes on. So that is something that will really excite your students. And it's an opportunity that not a lot of high schoolers get. All right, so next, talking about some student perks. One of those big things that I was talking about earlier, overnight conferences. Students absolutely love these, and not just because they get to be on their own for a little bit, but it truly is just a great experience to, get some independence and be able to compete in your events, keeping track of yourself. Next, we also have a lot of networking opportunities. Just being in TSA, you meet so many people, especially if you get that chance to go to the national conference. And that's just a great way to learn more about jobs, learn more about the things that you can do in TSA. And going along with what I previously said, yes, traveling. That is a great part of TSA. All right, so experience for the future. That's also another really big thing, because our events, they're pretty in-depth. If you haven't had a chance to look at the event guide yet, that's something I would highly recommend just looking through, because there is so much, and every single event lists out the career opportunities that are related to it. And that's just such a great opportunity that you can get just to learn more about a future career and exploring your options. All right, and who can join TSA? This is one of those wonderful things about our club. Any student, and I mean any student in 6th to 12th grade who has taken a technology related course at either the middle school or the high school level. This means if you took 6th grade computer science, you are set for your entire TSA journey. And we do this purposefully because we want TSA to be very accessible to every student. So, yep. Oh, Abby, you're muted.
I do that so often. All right, so our first big resource is the nctsa.org website, and this is going to be where you find all of the state information as well as some of the, national information will be relayed on here. But this is going to be very big for our regional and state conference. Everything that you need to know and every update will be on here. This will be where, if you're an advisor, you'll go through to register for regionals and states, as well as for judges, when the time comes, they can fill that out through there. But can you go to that link and will it share the screen? All right, so I mean, as you can see in nctsa.org, you have different things about us, so you can find our different contacts as well and resources and directory. We have our back to school packet that we'll talk about later, champion fund, bylaws, and then below that there's conference information. So you'll have regional, state, and national, and then you can find, of course, more on the national website. And then, we have some of our recent wins and nationals, and then you have all of our emails as well, so if you ever need to contact us, that's another great resource that you have at your fingertips. And then next would be the nationals website, which there's a lot more details on competitive events there. So if you have any questions about what competitive events are in TSA, this is where you can go. You can also find the themes and problems here. You can find things about membership. You can find about different conferences. So the national conference information will be on here, as well as different national level connections and resources to contact if you have a question in that regard. And then our last link is the chapter resources folder. So this is about everything that you can imagine that you'd need for a TSA chapter is going to be in this folder. And so advisors have this, and they may share stuff with students. So some students might see this, and is everything that we have to offer, going from the TSA fact sheet to program of work log, which we'll talk about in our first How to Get the Gold series when we're going over portfolios. You have stuff about American Cancer Society and all of the competitive events guides and everything, breakdowns and different things like that. So yeah, there's some great resources that we have available for you and compiled so that they're easier to understand and reach. All right, you can go back to the slideshow. Next slide, please. All right, so Champion Fund, this was mentioned whenever I went over the NCTSA website, and we have a Champion Fund. So if you're not already affiliated and you're planning on affiliating your chapter and you have 10 members or less and you've never had a chapter before, or you haven't had a chapter in 3 years, or if you are experiencing a financial hardship, this is a great way to get your chapter funded, and it will fully fund the RegCap affiliation for 1 year. So if you can click on that, this is the National Champion Fund, which they've always helped out members. So you can find it on the national website under membership information and then Champion Fund. And it just goes over how you're eligible, the different application, which it's really short. You just fill out your information and explain a little bit about your current situation financially and how you plan to move forward in the future and support your chapter. So this is a really easy way to pay the affiliation for the first year of your chapter, especially if you're just getting started. But that is a great resource and definitely something that we encourage everyone to check out. All right, so this is our back to school guide. Dr. Taylor makes this every year and she updates it. So it's updated for this year. If you want to click on it, we can just look at the table of contents real quick. So this is the back to school guide. We have a welcome page, different things about what we're currently doing. And so, okay, so this will show you what all is in it. So why join, different chapter affiliation information. We have all of our NCTSA policies about payments, registration deadlines, everything regarding that. We have our NCTSA policies regarding our code of conduct, conduct and our dress code, as well as there's some champion fund information on the national, and we also have an NCTSA champion fund as well. Our program of work and calendar of events. So this is where you're going to find all those important dates and events that Arushi mentioned earlier. Our advisor resource site, so great for advisors. The 2022-2023 leadership sessions, which is what we're doing right now. And we also have our national and state websites as well as social media on this as well. So that's a great way to keep in contact with us. If someone can put in the chat, our Instagram is at North Carolina TSA, which is where we put up a lot of our information. For example, these sessions, as well as regional and state conference information, so different registration deadlines when they're opening, different information like that. We just had our National TSA Week the first week of October, but we'll have TSA Advisor Appreciation Week. The official competitive events for the state conference are already posted, so you'll know where or what events that we will be hosting at state conference, and different chapter and member award programs. And we'll get a little bit more into that, I think, in the next slide. But yeah, a great resource, and it has everything that you could think of compiled all into one document. So LEAD, if you have been in TSA and NCTSA the past 3 years, you've most likely heard us talk about LEAD before. This is a great program that we developed around 3 years ago with the Team 42. And it is a service/leadership program that will recognize you for different service, leadership, ACS fundraising that you're doing within your chapter, as well as a local or even on a state level. So Arushi, if you'll click on that link and it'll bring you to the document. All right, so this is LEAD. So it stands for Leadership, Engagement, Activities, and Development. This was made again by Team 42, and it's going to work to establish aspiring leaders. So we're really working to foster those different leadership skills early on and give you an opportunity to lead with the state. So we're going to focus on collaboration, networking, and practical skills and create a community within TSA. I've always, helped out with my middle school. So that's something that I'd love to see, statewide, and different ACS outreach as well. So you'll earn points, and that'll expand your, interactivity and engagement with NCTSA, and those points will be put into categories to be recognized at states on a bronze, silver, and gold level. So how to join, I can share this link in the chat. And it's a Google form, so you'll fill out the Google form and all your information, and then we'll add you to a Google Classroom. And the Google Classroom will have all of the assignments, and the assignments will be based on the chart, which is down below. You can keep scrolling. And so we have 5 different categories. So we have mentorship, ACS involvement, NCTSA outreach, project vault, and leadership sessions. So our mentorship, we have inter-chapter mentorship, which is, if a veteran TSA member is mentoring a new member of the chapter. We have chapter to chapter mentorship, which is whenever the local high school chapter is helping out the middle school chapter, or vice versa, or another high school chapter is helping out a new chapter within the area. And we have ACS involvement. So if you're planning and executing a fundraiser, you're making a promotion post, you're making greeting cards for somebody, those are all ways that you can be recognized at a state level. And then we have NCTSA outreach. This is a great way to build up your TSA community around you. So if, like I was, throughout my middle school and high school, the only school with TSA in their county, reaching out to those schools and offering to host interest meetings for their CT programs is a really great way to build that community and have support. So we will have materials provided on the Google Classroom so that you can just go in and, talk to those CT teachers at other schools and try to help them along with that. And then we have the NCTSA project vault. So we're working on getting this together so that chapters who haven't necessarily competed before at states or haven't had the chance to see projects before will be able to know what to kind of expect and see really good quality projects as examples. So these will, of course, not be current projects that people are working on. They'll have to have placed in top 3 at states in order to submit their projects, and we'll have different plagiarization and assurance forms to make sure nobody is reusing ideas or wordings. And then our last thing is what y'all are doing right now. So attending and participating in NCTSA leadership sessions hosted by the state officers. So if you join any session, you can turn that in for hours. So that's a really great way to, just keep engagement at that state level, especially if you're wanting to grow your leadership skills and potentially in the future run as a state officer or run as a local officer if you haven't done that yet. But it's a really great way, and I think it's going to be really beneficial in the long run and help us grow NCTSA back stronger and better than ever. Yeah, and that'll be recognized at state. So if you have any questions, you can email team44_president at nctsa.org as well. And that's on the flyer as well. So if you download that, you'll have all that information. But yeah, it's a great way to be more active in the community.
There we go. All right, so we have gone over a lot of information so far, and I know that can be pretty daunting, especially if you are just starting out, especially if you're just one teacher trying to take on TSA. So here is our recommended just basic timeline. So step number one always is affiliation. You can't officially gain access to anything until you affiliate, so make sure you affiliate. This is just the best way. You get a head start, you get access to everything, and you can start planning out your year. And then the next thing is to hold meetings. So this link shows you some of those activities that you can do, and they're grouped by months. Obviously, you do not have to do everything. We always here at TSA, we believe quality over quantity. So just choose what you can accomplish based on where your club is, because this really is just an idea bank. This is some of the ideas that I know clubs all over the state have been doing. And that collaboration is the best way that we get things done. So you can see just they're all grouped by months, and this is linked in the PowerPoint, so you'll have access to this. All right, and the next thing, as I was saying, you just select your activities and your events. This is one thing that we really stress, especially if you're a new TSA chapter. You do not have to do all 35 events. Like, that is not a requirement, not at all. If you're a teacher and you specialize in a subject that lines up with one of the events, it's totally fine to just focus on that, or just focus on maybe you have a group of students that are really passionate about something, just focusing on that. And that's completely okay. Like TSA chapters, we grow, we build. So you all have to start from somewhere. And then here we have our middle school, high school, and state-only events. I'll really briefly just show you guys where this is. And as you can see, this is on the tsaweb.org. So that's middle school, high school. And then here are some state-only events. And I think those will be discussed during the next session. Yep, and then after that is competitions, regional, state, and nationals. We went over earlier where these were. And it's really good if you kind of create a schedule for your TSA chapter. I know some chapters, not all, they like to have progress checks just to make sure that all your teams are on track. And that's something that we do recommend, just because it makes sure that some students are not leaving stuff for the last minute, as we all know students sometimes do. So progress checks are just a great way to prevent that and make sure that everything is running smoothly for the competition season.
All right, so I'm going to go over just a few tips and tricks. Arishi did mention some of these, so just reiterate them. These are our top 6. just must do things whenever you're getting your chapter started. So this is really good for those chapters that already have a chapter started and they're just trying to figure out how to keep things going and get things going. So you want to find that group of dedicated students. Oftentimes this turns into your chapter team, which is a little bit more complicated, and you definitely don't have to have your first year, so you don't have to have local officers, but it's a really good idea to find a group of dedicated students, because that will be the foundation of your chapter. And if you have 3 to 6 students that really want to do TSA, they will do the work and they will step up. And I know personally, all of us have, been in that role at some point or another, helping our chapter, restart or start a new chapter, as we'll talk about later. So then you want to make a schedule for the year, like Arushi said, and try to stick to it. I mean, not everything's going to go according to plan, but as much as you can, do those progress checks, and make sure that you're making adequate progress in order to have your results, and have your project finished by regionals or states. And you want to start with those team building and group activities. You want your team to be cohesive and get along. You're going to be spending time with these people. So you want to build that bond early so that it's just a more enjoyable experience for students. And then since we do have traveling and different resources that have to be, bought beforehand or, paid for competitions, it's a great idea to plan fundraisers, because not every student is going to be able to, financially support those different competitions or, buying all the materials for their project, especially if you're a new chapter or, getting restarted, you may not have those funds from previous years. And as Arushi said, select events that can be done with your current resources and choose from there. So if you're a teacher that specializes in a certain area, choose from those events. If your school has a lot of wood, then choose one of the building projects that you can do with that. So, make sure you're playing to your strengths in that sense. And it's definitely, there's no problem with limiting events if it's your first year, making sure you're doing, like Rishi said, quality over quantity. And then lastly, ask questions. We're always here. As I said, our information is on the NCTSA website, and we're always here for questions, as well as sessions like this are a great way to get your questions answered, because we're here and we're able to talk with you. So yeah, just ask away and we will find an answer if we don't already have it. But we're going to get on to some perspectives. Each of our officers have a different key aspect of their TSA experience that is really worthwhile listening to and sharing. So I think we'll get started with, okay, well, I'm first. So I have been in TSA since 6th grade. I actually helped start my middle school chapter, and that's a little about what I'm going to talk about. So I had a teacher that came from App State with Dr. Taylor. So he was very well aware of TSA, and he, was new at the school and wanted to start one. So I was one of those students, those dedicated students that really, found what I liked with TSA and found passions within it. And so I became one of those dedicated students that was at every meeting trying to help run things for him. So I definitely can attest to that tip. Making sure you have those students is really key to the growth of a chapter, as well as, we came from an area where TSA was brand new, had no other TSAs in the county. So advocating, making sure that people are aware of what we are. We are a STEM CTSO. We are a career and technical student organization. So that means students are leading these meetings. We're working towards the workforce and education. So we're building those life skills and those 21st century skills that students need. So making sure that you're advocating for what we're doing and, all that it can help accomplish, as well as just making sure that students are having fun. It's a really great way to start students, finding out what they want to do in life. I mean, I started out, with biotechnology as my favorite event, and then I moved on to flight, which was totally out of left field for me, but it was definitely a way that I found a lot of my passions, and leadership as well, because this is my 3rd year as a state officer. So it definitely helped me grow in that sense as well. But I'm going to turn over to Rushi.
All right, so I did not have the experience that Abby had. I'm kind of on the flip side of it. Abby started in sixth grade. She started in an area that wasn't very established in TSA. I started in high school, and I started at a very big chapter, Panther Creek High School. And we had Mr. Curran as our advisor, and he had been the advisor there for so many years. So when I started, I came into a really well-established chapter. There were a lot of resources, a lot of events, a lot of things going on. But here's where things got a little shaky. So last year, we actually had 3 different advisors. And that in combination with COVID, it definitely hit our members, and it definitely fell on us as the student leaders to start doing something, start getting membership up. So we're kind of rebuilding right now, just kind of how NCTSA is. So my experience was very different, definitely being in a big chapter, and I'm very fortunate to have that experience. And we're kind of a great example of what can happen after a TSA chapter is established for many years. Because even though we had 3 different advisors last year, a lot of students graduated, a lot of students just didn't continue with TSA. Because we had people previously helping us and everything, we were able to rebuild. And we have 2 new advisors this year, and we have a really dedicated student board who really wants to see TSA succeed. So that's going pretty good. And yeah, so when you have that dedicated group of students, it really can make the complete difference. And I'm going to pass it on now to Samantha.
Hi, I'm Samantha. So I'm kind of a mix of both of Abby and Arushi's experiences with like chapter size. I came from a very well-established, large middle school chapter, Kennedy, and then I moved. At high school, I was at Philip O'Berry, and now I'm at Harvard Middle College, where Ren and I are actually establishing our own chapter there. So with establishing a new high school chapter, we're using the Champion Fund to fund the Champion Fund to get the affiliation covered for our first year, because we have less than 10 additional members. So with that, so basically the Champion Fund, you have a short form, it's 3 questions. You basically fill out your information and then you answer the questions on like your experience and like your chapter status, like why you're applying. So making a high school chapter, right now we're starting up. We have our members, so we're ready for affiliation. And after that, we're gonna move on to registering people for events and working on those. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Victoria.
Hi. Oh, my picture's not on the screen. Okay, there we go. So I was fortunate enough to have both a middle school and high school experience where both had pretty highly developed chapters and, really dedicated teachers, except for, last year, because I go to Panther Creek as well with Arushi. And so we kind of had a little bit of problems there, but everything's kind of working out well. And it was really helpful for me. Honestly, I loved my experience as a middle schooler doing TSA. It was really one of the first times that I kind of got a chance to be on my own and do something else, like kind of be able to develop something all by myself. And it was really fun. And it was something that I'd never done before. It was something that I never, saw myself doing. And I loved it. I completely fell in love with it. And fortunately, when I changed schools, I moved from the Triad area in the Piedmont to the Triangle in Raleigh, Durham. And I was fortunate enough to move to a high school that had also a highly developed chapter. And they kind of allowed me to run for an officer as a freshman, which is something that not many people do, but I highly recommend it if you have the chance, because it honestly gives you so many more opportunities to, through high school. And yeah, honestly, it's been a great experience. I highly recommend it to anyone. And yeah, I'll go ahead and pass it on to Ria.
Hi, so I started at a pretty established chapter at RGKEL. We had around 200 members and a really, really dedicated advisor, Mr. Sheffield, who was there for a lot of years. one of the most important things were like the community building aspects at my school. We had like a lot of, I guess we just had a lot of meetings and like gatherings with each other. So, and also like the juniors and seniors always like helped out the freshmen and sophomores because we were all like new to the club and we didn't know what it was, but they've had like 2 years of experience at least. So that was really important. And yeah, it was just that I guess like the student leaders would run like every single club and they would all like check in with us. So that was pretty cool. And TSA definitely did help increase a lot of my aspirations in STEM. And yeah, it made me realize that I wanted to continue with doing STEM and leading in STEM. So yeah, and with that I'll pass it on to Ren.
All right, so like Samantha was saying, we both did start off at a pretty well-established middle school. We both started off at Kennedy Middle School, which while being established, still continued to grow at a rather large rate while we were there. Our 6th grade year, I believe we had around 60 registered members. By our 8th grade year, we had 180 registered members that unfortunately never got to compete because that was the year that got cut off by COVID. So having such a large and pretty well established middle school definitely helped me feel more confident in myself, more confident in my abilities to like know stuff about STEM, like Ria was saying. And it just like having such a well established middle school chapter, I wouldn't be here sitting here now if I wasn't in that middle school chapter because it just did so much to help foster a love of TSA. On top of that, I did also want to talk about Arushi had said earlier something about how good of networking can happen specifically at national conference. And I just wanted to touch on that because like this weekend, I joined a call with a that I was invited to by a girl that I met at national conference that lives in Germany because she has a political organization or a political club at her grammar school and they wanted to know about what school is like in America. So I got to sit down with them for an hour and a half and tell them what school in America is like. And I really think that just really shows how far networking can go even just at the national conference. Right, and I'll hand it back over to Arushi and Abby.
So I think that's what we have for the end here. So I really hope that everyone learned something today, especially if you're one of those aspiring schools who are just starting off. And I really thank everybody for being here today and for joining on this call. So I'm sure Abby probably has something to say as well. So hand it off to her.
Right. So if anyone has any questions as well, we can do that at this time. Anything about what we've gone over today or any questions you have in general, we'd be more than happy to answer for you if we have the answer. You know, between the 6 of us and Dr. Taylor, we all have a wide variety of backgrounds. So as you've heard, so if you have any questions, yeah, you can do the raise hand feature if that works, and then just unmute yourself. Maya.
Okay, so I have a few questions. So I recently just affiliated my school for a chapter. And so for affiliation, if you just submit the form, and is that all you have to do, or do you have to create a website and have a webmaster or anything like that?
So affiliation is through the national website. If you want to, Arushi, do you want to go to, can you pull up the national website since you're already sharing your screen? Okay. So it'll be on the national website and it'll be at the very top. We just should verify that this is where you've gone. So it's join login. Is that where you completed your affiliation? Okay, it should have just you should have been able to affiliate through there and send your payment in. Did you complete all of this? You have your chapter
I didn't
ID?
get to the part where I sent my payment, but I think I have the
Okay, so
email.
this is where you go in through for your chapter advisors and state advisors. So you're registering a chapter advisor, so you'd be able to request a login for a new chapter and get that process started from here.
Okay.
If you can email me at State Advisor, at nctsa.org. I can check and
Mhm.
see what the status is on that. I just need the
Yeah.
school name and then
Okay.
your name, okay?
Yeah.
That's probably going to be the easiest thing to do.
Yeah.
And you're from Coxmill, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm from Mount Pleasant, so I'm
Oh, okay. Yeah.
in Harris County as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was also wondering for the champion fund, if we don't have like a number of how many people are gonna join, can we still apply for that? Like even though it might be over 10 people?
So what takes place is if you're awarded the champion fund, it will pay for 10 members and one advisor.
Okay.
Then if there's like, let's say 12 members, I'm just picking a number, you would end up, the school would end up paying that difference for those other two members, which would be $18 per person.
Okay.
Yeah. So if it goes, if there's more than that, then it just ends up being the difference.
Okay.
Yeah. And you can add members all the way up until the start of the state conference. And then if you go to nationals, you can even add additional members up until the start of until registration closes for the national conference.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I was also wondering, so I think you showed like a folder with like a bunch of PowerPoints and like Google Docs. I tried I access that because I think, is it on the PowerPoint or?
Let me share another one in the chat.
Okay.
This one may be a little bit less crazy, chaotic, easier for you to be able to sift through. I'm gonna send it. Let me send it to everyone. All right, try that one and see if that one works. That has all of our information from the.
Yeah, that works.
That has all of our PowerPoints from the CTE summer conference. So
Okay.
if you want to look through that has all the information about, in this basically this PowerPoint is in there as well. So
Okay. And on the PowerPoint, is the what your chapter should be doing or like the things for that, is that linked on the PowerPoint as well?
yes, it is, but all of the links were sent out in the chat. We can send a
Okay.
copy of this out as well for everybody.
Yeah. I also have one last question. Is this like recorded where we can?
Yes, so this
Okay.
is so we live stream to YouTube and it will be on our YouTube channel.
Okay, then thank you.
You're
And our
welcome.
YouTube channel is North Carolina TSA.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
North Carolina. Okay. Is that it? Am I
Yes.
okay? All right. Who else has their hand up? Yash, how you say it?
Yep, hello. So my name is Yash. And so basically I moved from like a North Carolina school to a South Carolina school. So I want to know if like the process for creating a TSA club in South Carolina is like different or.
So it is the same. You would just be on the South Carolina TSA.
Okay.
You would just go you'd go through national TSA, but you would just use information on the South Carolina TSA for,
Okay.
regional and states and everything like that.
Yeah, and also like TSA is like completely unknown in my school. So like what do I do with like state advisors and like log in for that and stuff?
So you would need to talk to a CTE teacher in your school and see if someone would be the advisor for you, and then you can move forward from there with affiliation.
Okay,
And
so is that like
all of the state advisor information should be on the South Carolina TSA website.
okay. So is there any way I can like see the presentation that you have here, the PowerPoint? Like the
Yes.
entire.
So if you go in the folder, we'll upload it. If you like join the folder, we'll upload it into there.
Which folder?
The last link that was sent out is a Google Drive folder of resources.
Uh-huh. Oh, I see it.
So if you join that, you
What
should
high,
be able to see.
what high school are you at in South Carolina?
Indian Lane High School.
And that's in Rock Hill?
It's
Or-
right near.
No, Lancaster.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was in Lancaster, South Carolina.
Oh, it's in Lancaster, South Carolina. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all I had. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Hopefully South Carolina TSA has that information. Amaya, did you have your hand? Did you raise your hand again?
Yeah, I just had another question. So right now we have a math teacher as our advisor. Is that gonna be an issue? Because do we have to have a CTE teacher?
So according to TSA, it can be just any teacher. It's
Mhm.
preferred that it's a STEM teacher. So a
Okay.
math teacher would work. The only problem is personally, I know Cabarrus County can be a little iffy on if it's not a CTE teacher,
Okay.
but you can have a STEM teacher. Personally, I just know from my experience that Cabarrus County can be a little
Mhm.
iffy if there's not a CTE teacher. Just with funds and everything.
Oh,
Like
okay.
if they're gonna, for you, or if they're gonna, use CTE funds, they're a little iffy on it. But if that's not something that you
Oh,
would,
okay.
need support with,
Yeah.
then I'd say that would be fine.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
My chapter also currently doesn't have a CTE teacher as our advisor. And since really the only difference is probably going to be with just funding and maybe experience. But I mean, the advisor doesn't need to know everything about every single event for people to be able to compete in them.
Yeah, and I currently don't have a CTE teacher as well, as my advisor. That's why I have, the personal experience with Cabarrus County on that issue. Yash, did you have another question?
Just one more question. Is there like a last day to create the club by, or like, how does making the club work?
So affiliation, like Dr. Taylor said, depending on, if you're competing at regional, state, or national level, you just need to be affiliated before those deadlines, the registration deadlines close for those conferences. I'm not sure, South Carolina specifics, but as long as you affiliate before those deadlines, you should be good.
And I also have the South Carolina website if you need that. If you haven't found it already, I can put it in chat.
Oh yeah, I found the website. I just found it.
Just wanted to make
thank
sure
you.
they have a bunch of stuff on there, but yeah.
Thank you.
So did you, Yash, if you don't mind me asking, you came from a North Carolina school at TSA?
Yeah, I was not in TSA North Carolina. I was in RDUCal, but I didn't get to join TSA here. But I moved to South Carolina before that, so.
Okay.
But I just got to know about TSA and like it's a club, and I wanna create it here, so.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. I would be sure if you can to reach out to the South Carolina state officers, because I'm sure they have a lot of resources to help you as well. And they probably know more about like the specifics of how it works in South Carolina.
Yeah, like I don't know if there's like meetings like this for South Carolina too, because my friend Amaya, she's in the meeting. She told me about this meeting, so I just joined it to like, information and stuff, but I don't know anything about South Carolina TSA yet, so.
Yeah, I definitely reach out to their, state advisor in the email that they have as a contact, but we're glad you came.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right, well, if there's no other questions, we will hopefully see everybody back next Monday at 7:45 to learn about what's new with NCTSA as well as TSA in general. We have some really exciting things to share with new competitive events, as well as different things we'll be doing at state competitive events, state only competitive events. But yeah, we're really excited and we hope to see everybody back. It should be the same link as this meeting link, so you'll be able to find it in the same places, TSA Tuesday or our Instagram bio, which is at North Carolina TSA. But yeah, hopefully we'll see everybody again next week.